This is Monkey World in Dorset, the largest ape and monkey rescue centre on the planet. Today on Monkey Life, there's been a scuffle amongst the female capuchins and Tia has been injured.
She's got a severe wound on her back. It's one of the worst we've had so far in the capuchins.
Orangutan Amy is heavily pregnant and very grumpy. And Alison has her last visit with Paulo, the baby woolly monkey she hand-reared.
I think this is it. I think it's time for Paulo to graduate. He's now a fully functioning member of the woolly monkey group and our task here is done.
It's early morning at Monkey World, and down at the female capuchin house, primate care supervisor Hannah has discovered a problem.
We were just doing our morning checks as usual, and we noticed an individual not moving on top of one of the tube nest boxes, so obviously very concerned. We could see an injury on her back. Didn't respond to us calling, so got very nervous very quickly, but luckily she did start wandering around and I could ID her as Tia, and she's got a very nasty cut on her back. The culprit is unknown. It's obviously happened through the night.
Tia has been rushed to the medical room, and after her fur is removed, park vet Femke can see the injury looks serious.
It's quite a nasty cut. It's one of the worst we've had so far in the capuchins.
It's likely that Tia was bitten in an attack. The 88 Chilean capuchins are still trying to establish their hierarchy, so have scuffles all the time. But Tia's injury is severe. The wound is dangerously close to nerves and muscles that control movement.
There's some muscle and nerve damage, so I'm now removing the dead tissue. I'm going to see what I can repair.
Dead tissue means the wound is infected, so Femke needs to thoroughly clean the area.
I'm now looking if I can pull the muscle together again, or if there's too much damage.
If the nerve and muscle damage can't be repaired, Tia could be left with a permanent disability.
I'm now stitching the muscle together. There was quite a big gap, so I was worried it wasn't possible. But it seems to be going better than I thought, so that's good news.
Tia has needed 14 stitches. The wound is deep, and superglue is used to ensure the stitches don't come loose. With the injury repaired, Tia must leave it alone to let it heal properly. If she or another capuchin picks the wound, it may reopen, which could lead to another infection. And later, Tia is given an unusual but stylish bandage to prevent her from picking at the wound.
Well, she looks quite cute and happy with her jacket. I mean, she's a little bit annoyed by it every now and then. She's looking like, what is this?
And young Chimp Rodders bites off more than he can chew when a big new branch appears in the nursery. It's breakfast time for the park's residents. And like most animals, primates love to eat, so everyone's tucking in. And over with the orangutans, it's the time of day greedy Amy loves. But today something's up. She's not eating. The park has put fruit and honey high up on the platforms and poles, so the orangs can climb and work for their breakfast. In the wild, most of the orangs' food grows high in the treetops, and it's where they spend most of their time. But as Amy is heavily pregnant, she's finding it increasingly difficult to maneuver about the enclosure. and she simply cannot face the high climb to get the goodies. Which is good news for the other orangs in the group. They can take full advantage of Amy's lack of interest and are busy licking the enclosure clean, making sure they don't miss a mouthful. Captive orangutans tend to be lazy, so it's good to see them moving around and getting a bit of exercise. The staff will make sure Amy gets the food she needs and keep a careful eye on her progress. This really isn't like her, and it could be an indication that she's going into labour. At the chimp nursery, there's a hive of activity. Little do foster mum Sally and her group know that they're about to get a new addition to their enclosure. Where possible, the park likes to give the primates natural enrichment, and this felled tree branch should do the trick.
We were worried about a tree that actually is on the outside of the enclosure, but some very big branches were leaning over the overhang. So as a safety precaution, we've removed those. Now we're going to put them inside for something for them to play with. So we're killing two birds with one stone, really, and making sure the enclosure's safe, but also creating some new apparatus for the little ones to play with.
So get that V over. So come further back this way, would you? And then feed it back.
Everybody is sure that this large branch will keep the chimps amused and also encourage natural movement.
Especially with the younger chimps in this group, they're still learning how they move around and what works and what doesn't and how adventurous they can be. So it's nice to have something different that moves and gives and that they really have to test their strength and their agility with.
The nursery is mostly made up of youngsters, but at around 3 years old, they already have the strength of the average human man. And they are destructive. So the team work hard to make this tree chimp-proof, convinced they will really enjoy this new play area. A chimp's primary sense is sight, and when the group come outside, they can immediately see that something different and very large is in their enclosure. So most of them decide to proceed with caution. But dominant female Sally is feeling brave and leads the way for the youngsters. She inspects it. She snaps some twigs off it. She works out that it doesn't taste very nice and it's not harbouring any hidden treats, and then runs out of things to do with it. So she gets bored. It's clearly not anywhere near exciting enough for her. And young Rodders should have taken tips from his foster mum and avoided eating the branch, as trying to break the branches with your teeth is clearly quite painful. Lulu is with Sally on this one. She knows the branch isn't hiding any treats either, so they're both on the lookout for something else to do. For a while, it looks like all the hard work of the primate care staff has been in vain. But then, who shows up but cheeky youngster Brian? He loves to play and is convinced that the others are missing a trick. He can't wait to get to grips with this new climbing frame. There's a problem. The branch is a bit unstable, so he needs to employ some impressive balancing skills to get to the top. But once he's found his feet, there's no stopping him. Brian puts the tree to the test, and it makes an excellent chew toy and climbing frame. Back at the Capuchin house, Tia is recovering from the emergency operation to stitch up her nasty bite wound. Vet Femke had to work quickly to prevent permanent nerve and tissue damage. Luckily, the signs are good. She's looking well and seems to have retained full movement. But as the wound is deep, Femke wants to take every precaution to ensure Tia doesn't pick at the injury and reopen the wound. so she's been given an extra dressing.
Well, she looks quite cute and happy with her jacket. I mean, she's a little bit annoyed by it every now and then. She's looking like, what is this? But yeah, it's not too bad. She'll survive.
Tia is going to be kept in a separate enclosure from the rest of her group to give her injury a chance to heal.
When Tia's wound is healing all right, then she'll go back in with the others. But as long as it is like it is now, very open, very infected, no, she won't be able to go in with the others yet, because there's always a risk of them over-grooming her and picking at her wound, and it will definitely get infected again then, and that's not what we want.
As well as having a new safety bandage to wear, Tia is also on a variety of medication.
Tia is on antibiotics right now for the infection and also on some pain relief. And we've also put her on some medication to keep her a little bit drowsy so she won't mess with her bandage and wound too much. So hopefully she'll just relax and the wound will heal.
Tia will keep this bandage on for 10 to 14 days, and the wound should fully heal in around 4 weeks' time. It's a new day at Monkey World in Dorset, and staff have woken to news about pregnant orangutan Amy. Primate care staff had kept a careful eye on Amy since she stopped eating the day before. And in the middle of the night, she went into labour and gave birth. Her movements were captured on CCTV, which was used to monitor her during the pregnancy. But sadly, things didn't go according to plan.
This morning, Jeremy came in and found Amy in bed alongside of her infant, but it was dead. Really tough time for all of us, and I start to get quite choked up even thinking about it. You know, it's an individual that we never got to know. We were doing late-night checks before everybody went home in the evening, and very early morning checks, knowing that most of the births of monkeys and apes occur in the middle of the night. And we knew that she was due any time, and she was becoming enormous, so it seemed like, you know, the baby really was due and potentially overdue. You know, we were hopeful that we would get a healthy baby out of it, but it wasn't to be this time.
The CCTV footage shows that Amy had a quick labour, but straight after the birth she turned her back to the camera, and no one really knows what happened next.
Really, it's hard to tell exactly what state the infant was in when it was born. Was it perfectly fit and healthy? Probably we'll never know.
Because of Amy's lack of maternal skills, the park did all they could to prepare her for motherhood.
Amy hasn't been a good mother in the past. We had to hand rear Gordon. There was one infant before that didn't survive. We had hoped that at least we would be able to get the infant out healthy and alive, and if we had to hand rear it, so be it. We didn't need Amy to care for the baby, but we needed the baby fit and healthy. And sadly, we weren't able to come up with that on this occasion.
Orangutans can suffer from postnatal depression, but Amy has been through this before and is recovering from the trauma of giving birth.
I suspect Amy's a pretty sort of tough lady, that she's not going to actually need a whole lot of care and support, but we'll give her some extra antibiotic cover just to make sure there's no infection left behind, because birthing is quite a traumatic event. We'll have to get all of that in our heads, get her ready and fit to join the others again, and then consider the future. We just have to look at it and learn as much as we can from what has been a rather sad event.
Later, Alison makes her last visit with a baby who is flourishing, woolly monkey Paulo.
He feels his place is here with the woolly monkeys, and that's exactly what we wanted to achieve.
At the Bachelor boy enclosure, Sheamus is feeling relaxed and confident with his group. He's now living with all 14 boys, and life is good.
We were always very hopeful that Sheamus would come down and get on really well with this group. His nature, his playfulness, his boisterousness, his cheeky side really does lend itself to this group and the guys in here. Also, I think Sheamus has actually matured a lot in the last couple of years. At the start of the introductions, he was fairly nervous with the individuals, but towards the end, he'd actually just start to hold his ground, not react to them. If he starts to scream and run off, they think it's brilliant, it's someone to chase. But because he held his ground, they actually came over to him, made the first move, initiated contact, and from then on, really, everything was quite smooth.
Before moving to the Bachelors, Sheamus lived in the nursery and was spoilt rotten. This means he would often get more than his fair share of the food and was piling on the pounds. But since moving in with the Bachelors, Sheamus has slimmed down.
Sheamus has actually lost a lot of his belly since being in the nursery. Obviously up there he could actually dominate all the food and take pretty much what he wanted. Down here he has to compete with the other guys, and Lowe's doing very well at that. He has thinned down a little bit. He's looking pretty much spot on now where we'd hope him to be. So we actually just give him the odd extra just to make sure he actually maintains his weight now. But no, he's looking a much better chimp these days.
Sheamus may have lost the weight, but luckily he hasn't lost too much of his cheeky and lovable character.
Still very playful. You see if there's any kind of trouble, he'll actually be involved right in the middle of it. In general, it's been a positive move for everyone. It's actually really sort of buoyed up the group. Having a younger chimp in there has made it them all much more playful. And he has to learn how to actually behave in a group situation where he's not the centre of attention, he's not king of the hill anymore. He's done really well at it, he's picked it up. He can read the signs of chimp body language now, so we're really, really are pleased with his progress.
Many of the park's apes and monkeys live in natural family groups, so the primate care staff keep physical contact with them to a minimum and don't go into their enclosures. But some of the primates were hand-reared. This afternoon, Alison is in the woolly monkey garden and she's come to say goodbye to baby Paulo, who she's looked after since birth. And even though his new enclosure is rather large for this little chap to tackle, the lure of mango and seeing his old foster mum is just too tempting.
Paulo's now about 8 months old and has been living with the woolly monkeys now here in Bueno's group for 2 months. So that's it, apron strings are cut now. You know, Mike and I keep coming over to visit him and he's very happy saying hi to us through the mesh, but what's very clear is that he feels his place is here with the woolly monkeys, and that's exactly what we wanted to achieve. I mean, everybody always says, won't you be sad when he becomes independent? I'm like the beaming, proud mother here. It's great. Not only is he sort of reluctant to leave like the security of the house and all of the others who are over there, you know, he wants to see me. Clearly, he's very happy to see me, but I think he's more happy to see the mango. Aren't you? He's a proper, confident little man who knows what he wants, and that's to be with others of his own kinds.
Paulo is the second woolly monkey to be hand-reared at the park. In fact, he's one of only a few successfully hand-reared woolly monkey babies in the world.
We're pleased as Punch. It steads well for the breeding program. It means we can continue to breed monkeys here and know that we can meet their needs, whether they be mother-reared or hand-reared. And that's quite important because right now the captive woolly monkey population worldwide is non-existent.
These captive breeding programs are important for the survival of the species too, because populations in the wild are also dangerously low. Paulo is really flourishing, but he's still a baby, so the park will need to keep a close eye on him.
He's still very young. There are still things that could go wrong. He could get a cold or a flu. Being just a kilo in weight, really, that could be a difficult situation for him. So we're not going to be too cocky yet, but I think this is it. I think it's time for Paulo to graduate and for us to all say congratulations that he's now a fully functioning member of the woolly monkey group and our task here is done.
Back at the Bachelor pad, Sheamus is proving that he's also a fully fledged member of his group. And he's quickly learnt to stay right out of the way when there's trouble. There are plenty of outbursts and dominance displays in the Bachelor group. But when peace is restored, Sheamus really comes into his own. And that means playtime. The Bachelors are really just a bunch of overgrown boys. They love to mess about, and Sheamus is the perfect playmate. The 9-year-old is much smaller than the rest of the group, and they all love him because he isn't a threat. In fact, the group can't get enough of Sheamus. He's made some really good friends, and now he gets to have rough and tumble anytime he likes. And with chimps that are just as silly as him. Sheamus is definitely now one of the boys. Next time, Jeremy is worried about young chimp Ben.
He had a wound on his foot, which wasn't too horrendous at all, but it's actually become infected. We've got this very badly swollen skin loss and inflammation.
In Paddy's chimp group, baby Bart is always on the go, and he's testing his mum's patience. And pregnant woolly monkey Paquita is huge. The team are getting concerned.
Paquita's still not had her baby. She's keeping us all on tenterhooks. At the moment, her baby bump is enormous. We don't really think she can get much bigger than she is.